Hi, hello, and all that good stuff. My name is Allie, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be coming at you with my July TBR. I'm doing 4 readathons because I'm insane. As you can see, a couple of them are, I guess, like medieval quest queendom themed. So I have my crown as I'm going to become a queen in Medievalathon and a quest champion for the book Junkie trials. All right, let's jump into my TBR for the book Junkie trials, which takes place through all of July. I am on Team Scribe, so I have my TBR for the path I have to take in order to procure the Bookie Grail. And then I also have books that fill the rest of the prompts, as I am going to visit all of the queendom, see everything, and become a quest champion, hopefully. Pretty ambitious, and it's not the only readathon I'm doing this month, but I'm pretty determined and I'm really excited for most of these books. So let's just get started with my path to the Bookie Grail. First off, I need to visit Dwarf Mount, which is to read a book with a hint of romance. So for that, I am reading A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I'd say this has a little more than a hint of romance in it, but I just wanted this to fit a prompt, and it's over 500 pages, so it fits my weakness as a scribe as well. So just getting that out of the way right away, and I'm really excited for this. Next up, we have Apothecary Towers, which the prompt is to pick a book at random off of your shelf, and I ended up picking Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. I read her other book, Little Fires Everywhere, last month, and I am actually pretty excited to read this. I think it's going to be a good time. Then we have The Great Library, which is to read a book that has been on your TBR forever. And for that, I chose Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Now, I just bought this copy, but it's been on my TBR forever. It's just one of those books that everyone talks about, but I'm not into a lot of fandoms, so I kind of have been putting it off. Even though I do really want to read it, it's just, I'm hesitant. It's finally time that I jump into the hype. I see what everyone's talking about, so we will see. Next we have The Drowning Deep, which is to pick a book with rich world building, and for that I've chosen A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I have never read a Victoria Schwab book, so this will be my first delve into her writing. And I am very excited after everything I've heard, after everyone talks about her, all of her books, and this series I know is probably one of her most popular, so I'm definitely excited to be starting out with this. This book is kind of about a bunch of different Londons, and there's these people who can travel between them, but I'm assuming this has rich world building from what I've heard about it, and we shall see. And lastly, for my scribe path, we have the Bookie Grail. And for that, I have to read the group book, which is Stardust by Neil Gaiman. Now, I remember reading this probably either in middle school or high school, so could have been even like 10 years ago, I'm not sure. But I am excited to be reading it again. I remember liking this. I don't remember a lot about it, but I remember liking it. Moving on to the huge stack of books I have here, which is for all of the rest of the prompts to visit everywhere else in our Queen's magical queendom. The first location is Crimson Peaks, which is to reread a favorite. And for that, I'm going to be reading Magic Study by Maria V. Snyder. This is the second in the study series, whatever it's called, I'm not sure, but this is the second book in that series. I read these years and years ago, probably I think in high school, and I loved them. They were my all-time favorite fantasy series. I love the characters, I love the romance, the world, all of it. Now we have the Queendom Stone, which is to read a book featuring royalty. I have And I Darken by Kirsten White, and this I know features like a darker princess. It says, no one expects a princess to be brutal. So obviously royalty. Next is The Forgotten Forests, which is to read the next in a series. And I am finally reading Ruin and Rising, the last in the Grishaverse trilogy for that. I have been putting this off, honestly, just because I really don't like Mal. That's that's it. That's my gripes with this series is I read Siege and Storm and I don't like Mal. He annoys me and he was annoying the whole time. And I feel like he's going to be annoying in this one. And I don't know. That seems maybe like a dumb reason to put off a book, but he annoys me. Then we move on to The Weeping Falls, which is to read a tearjerker. And I actually already read this. This is Orange, the Complete Collection Volume 1 by Ichigo Takano. And it is a manga series. I loved this so much. I kind of knew I was going to. It's right up my alley. I love manga. I love anime. I don't get into it as much as I used to, but I still like to indulge myself in it now and again. And this was just a treat to read. I need to read the next one. We now move on to Orc Grove, which is to read a gruesome or gritty book. And I have Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I have never read a Karen Slaughter book, but I like thrillers, so obviously it would make sense I would start to read her works. I've heard that her works describe the gore, gruesome murders and stuff like that that happen in detail, so that is why I chose this one here. Then we have Old Pirate Cove, which is to read a book that takes place at least partially at sea, and for that I have Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. Obviously, this takes place, I think, predominantly at sea, considering that Pirate King. So I don't actually know a whole lot about this other than it is about the daughter of a Pirate King. And people seem to like it. And it takes place at sea. And I got this book on clearance somewhere. So that's about it. It fits the prompt and I'm going to read it. We will see. Now we move on to Glimmer, which is to read a book with a beautiful or colorful cover, and for that I'm reading Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. And this is the Owl Crate edition, so it has gold font and purple background. I'm not sure what the regular edition looks like, but I know this one's a little different. And I love this cover. I think it's just gorgeous. I didn't read an Enchantment of Ravens, so this will be my first book by her. I have heard that people like this one better than Enchantment of Ravens, so we will see. I know that this takes place kind of, at least partially, in a magical library, and this main character is like the keeper of this library, and these books can like come to life, and it sounds interesting. I'm not sure I'm sold on the idea, but I just love this cover, and I would have picked it up just for that. Next up is The Draconic Isle, which is to read a book featuring dragons. So I have Tess of the Road by Rachel Hartman, and I don't actually know anything about this, except for there's a dragon. And I think this girl is like a dragon rider or something. That's it. That's all I got. I honestly just thought this was the cutest cover. I got it on Book Outlet. I've heard some other people and seen them haul it, but I've never actually seen anyone read it. Like, I haven't heard anyone talk about it other than I've seen it get hauled a lot. So I'm hoping I like it, and then I can review it and see what it's about, because as much as I see it, I don't know what anyone thinks of it. Now we're moving on to The Elven Guard, which is to read a book with war, politics, that kind of thing, and I have Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is a newer release, and it is about a ragtag group of like space cadets, and they meet this girl who's been in like a cryogenic sleep or something like that, Aurora, and she is a catalyst for this like 1,000-year-old war. So war, and they're space cadets, so it's like military, politics. It sounds like there's a lot of that in here. I am just excited to read this. I've kind of seen mixed things. It seems like a lot of people just say it's okay, but I'm hoping I'll like it. Now we have On the Hollow Isle, which is to read a horror or atmospheric book. And I don't really read horror books, so I didn't really know where to start. I didn't have any. It was kind of last minute. I picked this up on clearance at Half Price Books, and I'm going to read this, which is the first in the Walking Dead graphic novels. I have seen the show, or at least some of it. I'm way behind now, but whatever. Next, we move on to The Empty Barrel Inn, which is to read an indulgent read, and I picked Waiting for Tom Hanks by Carrie Winfrey. This book I actually already read. I really enjoyed. It was very cute, fluffy, light, generally a good time. I actually liked it more than I was expecting to, and I would recommend it for anyone who wants a light, fluffy read. Okay, lastly, we have The Giant Squid, which is to read a book that intimidates you. And I have The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. And this book definitely intimidates me. I've never read a historical fiction before. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but everyone talks about it. I want to try getting into historical fiction. I think I could like historical fiction depending on what it is. And so I'm going to read this. It's a bit chunky, so it's even a little longer, and I don't know if this is a good first book to delve into historical fiction with, but I'm already a little ways into this one because I think it might take me a long time to read, so I started this one right away. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this. So that is all my books for the Book Junkie Trials. I'm hoping to get to all of them. I want to be a quest champion, and then maybe I'll have earned this crown, my dollar store crown. Next up, I'm going to move on to my Medievalathon TBR, which is hosted by Holly Hart's Books and is taking place through the entirety of July as well. I will link that stuff down below too. And I am so excited for this one. I love Holly, I love her channel, and I'm going to become a queen, if you can't tell by my beautiful plastic crown. So the first challenge is to read 6 books to become queen, which will be easy. I have so many books that I'm reading this month. 6 will definitely happen. So I will become queen. But then there are some prompts to get a set of armor, some clothes, and some weapons, and so I have some books that meet those prompts as well. We'll start out with the crown, and to earn the crown, you need a book where a character fights for the throne. And I have And I Darken by Kirsten White. I feel like they fight for the throne in this book. I mean, it talks about claim to their birthright, so hopefully I'm right in that they're fighting for thrones. It sounds like it via the synopsis. So, and then to earn a helmet, you have to read a book with a dragon on the cover. Again, Tess of the Road. Beautiful little dragon there. To earn a chest plate, you need to read a book with a shiny cover. So, Sorcery of Thorns. You see shiny here and shiny here. There's some shiny on there, so that'll meet that prompt. To earn metal leggings, you need to read a thick paperback. I think this counts. It's 600 and some pages. A Court of Mist and Fury is my thick paperback. Now for the prompt I had the most trouble with, and that is to earn boots, you need to read a book that has yellowed pages over time. And originally I had some book I randomly picked up at half-price books that I knew nothing about, and I didn't know if I really even wanted to read right now, especially considering the rest of my TBR. I just felt like I wasn't going to get to it since I didn't really care about it. So instead, I picked up this. Last time I was at half-price books, I found another one with yellowed pages. I don't know if you can tell or not, but they are definitely very yellow. And that is Remember Me by Sophie Kinsella. I've never read a Sophie Kinsella book, but I figured this would be kind of a quicker read, hopefully, just a kind of contemporary style book. And then to earn a cloak, you have to read a book with red on the dust jacket or cover. And so I'm using a darker shade of Magic. There's red here. He's actually got like a red cloak. So I thought this would meet that prompt very well. Now we move on to the weapons. And there are 4 weapons you can earn. I am only going for 2 of them. The one that I'm for sure going for is the sword, because I want to fight with a sword. Classic, right? Queen with a sword. I'm down for it. So to earn my sword, I need to read a book with something pointy on the cover, and I picked To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo, and there's a little like dagger here, so that's something pointy. And this book is kind of a Little Mermaid retelling, except it's about sirens, and it's about a girl who like has to become human and get this prince to love her, but this prince like is a siren hunter. So I don't know, it sounds interesting, and I love retellings. I think they're really fun, so we will see if this one lives up to be a good story. And then I don't know if I'll get to this month, but to earn daggers, you need to read a book with assassins, and so I have Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I have the collector's edition. I got it on Book Outlet for really cheap. I have never read this before. I've never read any of the series at all, so I would like to get to this, but at the same time, it's kind of an extra. It doesn't fit any of the prompts or meet any of the prompts for my other readathons. I have books that fill everything else, so I don't really know if I will get to this. It's just kind of if I have time, and considering that I have like a 26 book TBR, I don't know if I'll have time. I just really want to get to reading this book at some point. So that is all the books for my Medievalathon TBR. I will be a queen soon, and I shall rule my kingdom with an iron fist, or an iron sword, or whatever. So the third readathon I'm participating in this month is the Bibliothon, which takes place from July 11th through the 19th. And again, I'm going to go through these books pretty quick because I already went over most of them in my previous discussions about book junkie trials and Medievalathons. So let's just get into this. First off, we have the group book, which is Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Again, sci-fi, interesting. Really the only reason I'm reading it is because of the group book, but I made a prompt for the other readathon, so win for me. And then we have to read an adult book, which Everything I Never Told You fits for that. Then we have read a graphic novel, and I have The Walking Dead. Nextly, there's Based on the Cover, which, again, Sorcery of Thorns, gorgeous cover. Then we have Free Choice, which I just picked Fangirl. I figured any book from my other readathon TBR would be good to put here. So then we have from an author you've never read before, which honestly, so many of the books I'm reading this month could fit that, but for now I just have Test of the Road by Rachel Hartman in that spot. That might switch, you know, there's so many books I'm reading that fit that. Then we have the one that is excited for but never picked up, which is To Kill a Kingdom, which I wanted to pick up when it first came out, and then I didn't, so now I am. Then we have a 5-star prediction of my own, and for that I picked Magic Study. I loved the series before. I gave the first book 5 stars, I gave the second book 5 stars, and I am hoping I will give it 5 stars again now that it's years later and I still really enjoyed the first book. I feel like this has got to be 5 stars. If this isn't, I'm going to be really sad because these were my favorite books. And then lastly, we have to read a host's 5-star read. And for that, I have Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. And this, I'm actually really excited to read. It's super, super short. That is the one thing that kind of worries me about it, is it's like a fantasy, but it's so short. How are you going to fit fantasy into like 100 and some pages? But, I mean, that means it should be a quick read, and there's more books in this series, so we'll see. That is all the books for Bibliothon. I know I kind of rushed through them, but I just don't want this video to get too long, and I don't want to talk about things over and over again and bore the hell out of everyone. So, now the last readathon I'm participating in is the Reading Rush, which takes place from July 22nd to the 28th. And again, I'm going to run through this book pretty quickly. Prompts for that are Purple on the Cover, which I am going to read Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. Now, if you saw my Twitter post, this was not on my TBR then. I actually had The Diviners by Libba Bray, but I'm putting that one off again because this arrived in the mail. I ordered this in my Book of the Month box, and I'm just really excited for this, so I want to read it this month. Also, it's the bookmarked book club pick of the month, if I can get that out of my mouth. So I also want to read this to participate in that live stream and talk about it. So this is replacing The Diviners. Maybe I'll read The Diviners next month. I really want to read this. This is about a Gumiho, this girl here, who is like a 9-tailed fox spirit, and she has to kill and devour people in order to live, but she tries to only kill like bad people. She doesn't want to be a terrible spirit, and then she ends up saving this boy, and she loses her fox spirit, and without it she's going to die. So it seems like then they have to like choose who's gonna live, and maybe there's romance. I'm really excited for this. Then we have Read a Book in the Same Spot for the entire time. Now this could change. I don't know what exactly book I'm gonna end up doing this with. I don't have to decide until the 22nd, but right now I have Daughter of the Pirate King on there just because it's a little shorter. So otherwise I don't know if I would be able to read a book in the same spot because I tend to carry my books around with me all the time, and I'll read them on my couch or on my bed or wherever. So I'm hoping with a shorter book I can just read it in a couple sittings in the same spot. Next we have a book you meant to read last year, and I have Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. I have had this on my shelf for a while, and I meant to read it last year, and then I just didn't. so I'm hoping to read it now. And I have already seen the movie for this, and it was okay. Kind of hoping the book will be a little bit better than the movie. We will see. But this is about a girl who is really sick, and she basically is locked in this house that is sanitized. She can't ever go outside. Her mom is a nurse and takes care of her, and then she like meets this boy who moves in next door by like giving him her number via like holding it up in her window or something like that, and then they start talking, they get to know each other, and things go from there. Next up, we have to read an author's first book, and for that I picked Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I loved Evelyn Hugo. I enjoyed Daisy Jones, but didn't love it as much as everyone else, and so I'm trying to read the rest of her works now, and I figured this would be a perfect opportunity to read this book. Now, this book is about a woman who has a whirlwind romance. She gets married super quickly to this guy. She never meets his family, anything like that, and then he suddenly dies. And so she is now left to meet this family and get to know them, even though they didn't really know anything about her. And I've heard that this book is very emotional, so I'm hoping I'll enjoy it. Then we have Read a Book featuring a non-human character, and I have This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. And this features August Flynn wants to be human, so he's not, he's a monster. And this takes place in a world where monsters and humans coexist. That's really all I know about it. I picked it because I needed a book featuring a non-human character. It fit. So, yes. Then we have a book with 5 or more words in the title, and I have A Darker Shade of Magic. 5. This is the other Victoria Schwab book I'm reading this month. We're just diving right into her works and seeing, hopefully I like them since I'm reading 2 of her books this month. And then lastly, we have read a book-to-movie adaptation and also watch the movie. So here I have Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. Technically, I've watched this movie already, but I was half awake and I kind of put it on and then fell asleep, so I didn't really actually see any of it. So I'm gonna read the book first, and then I'll go actually watch the movie. So I know that this book is about a girl who like falls in love with a guy with a crazy rich Asian family, and I know that it's just kind of ridiculous, like soap opera-y maybe. I've heard good things about it. I'm hoping it'll just be a fun romp, definitely something I'm going to need near the end of the month when I'm just burnt out on books. And that is it. That is all of my books for Reading Rush. That is all of my books for July. I know I am way overly ambitious. I really hope I can get to all of them. Anyway, I'm now going to clean up the mess of books on my floor, put them back where they go, and please subscribe, like this video, check out my Twitter, my Instagram, all that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I am really excited. It was my first booktube video, so hopefully I did okay. Anyway, have a good day.